We'll call the pre-meeting to order. So we will have Councilman Fitzwater will be saying the prayer tonight. And skipping down to appointments, any questions on those at this time? And a couple of presentations. I see Diane is here for CVB and Luke is going to join us as well. And announcements. Mr. Sanders will make a special one under that. And consent agenda, any questions? And bills introduced, number 68, Margie or Matt? Matt?
Basically, this would start the process to approve a vote on issuance of wastewater bonds, wastewater fund. Talked about back when we were rate tables, those so they would support this effort. Goal is to get about $44 million in bonding. April, so it has to be a vote based on our current rate. It's already approved. I was just notified October 28th, just on a side note, that state SRF funds are intended use plan for those funds, so we can interest rates right now it's 1.15% on those, so that's very good rate. Answer any questions?
Any questions? And Margie, do you want to add anything or just let him do the presentation? Okay. Thank you. And number 69, Matt?
This would update, again, all sewer related, these three. Update our wastewater code to reflect some new state and federal laws. So we've been through some audits of these. Some of the highlights are dental offices are regulated by the state and federal clean water law, but this would add our code to that, add that to our code, excuse me. And there's a one-time reporting form. Also changes some limits, basically allows for more iron discharge into our system than what was in the code. So low of limit got in there, but it's been in there for a long time. And modifying the record requirements, another one. Right now our code says 5 years, but the federal rule is 3, so we'll back. That's the main answer to that.
Any questions? And number 70, Matt?
Another wastewater, relates to the same thing, but this would modify kind of on the heels of previous rate, another rate chart table in there for surcharges and discharge of high strength waste to the city system. That was last modified in 1987. But basically this is for 4 or 5 permits in the city that this would affect. Really only if they exceed the limits in their permit. We're estimating and generate some modification, generate about $1,700 to $2,200 in 6 years. But it's for BOD, biological oxygen demand, suspended solids. So if you have a high strength concentration of those detected in your testing, you have to pay a surcharge to the city too.
Any questions? Okay, number 71, Ryan.
Thank you. This ordinance adds a couple of provisions to our general provisions. Essentially, it's kind of taking advantage of some emerging areas of law. The first change adds a self-preemption section to our code. And essentially what it says is when there's changes in law that are in federal, state or federal law, that our code is meant to be read to not be contrary to those laws. It's a protective measure, so that way we can have time to clean up our code when there's significant changes in the law. The second one is a provision that allows for the city to collect attorney's fees in those situations where we have to utilize attorneys to enforce our code. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on that? Okay, and item 13, bills pending, number 64, Mr. Molman.
Thank you. This ordinance would establish the election dates and candidate filing period for the upcoming general municipal election in April of next year.
Any questions? Okay, number 65, Margie.
Yes, this is to amend our FY22 budget to allow for budget authority for our new sales tax H capital improvement sales tax for a half year. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, number 66, Sunny.
Thank you. This is a replat of the Capitol Mall subdivision. Basically, what it's doing is subdividing Lot 11 into 3 smaller lots, and then also transferring some of the property from the parent lot to 2 of those lots. And there's also a subdivision variance for not having street frontage on one of the properties, which is governed by a agreement with all the other property owners for that access. Be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, and number 67, Sunny.
Sure. This bill would just give 2 street names to a private drive out off of between Fairgrounds and Edgewood, sort of behind Lawson and Thomas Jefferson schools. That's gone through planning and zoning, and I'd answer any questions on this one too.
Any questions? Okay, item 15, resolutions, number 16, Sunny.
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is both of these are actually applications for Historic Preservation Fund grants. The first one is for another survey, archaeological historic survey of the West Main area, basically between what's already been surveyed and what's currently being surveyed now. And if I can just go to the next one.
Sure.
It's a grant, same program for basically helping the city create design guidelines for historic preservation purposes. And both the matches, if I may also add to it, would be budgeted in next year's budget cycle. We do not anticipate, when we get these, it would be fiscal year 23 before we actually spend any money.
Any questions? Okay, and we have no presentation, nothing else on there, so well, any questions before we adjourn? All right, I'll call the meeting adjourned and we will begin here at 6 o'clock. Thanks, everyone. What is it? 7? They do? Okay, we'll be done by then. If not, keep track for us what's going on with the score. Take it to a body shop. something under it and drain it somewhere? Well, they don't understand. So- So are we talking? This is not acceptable. I just read that response, but I feel like instruction, there's gotta be. Response. Okay. That's what suggested. So that it's not, so the, or sandblast. So it doesn't rust, so you get the rust. Just add an event, and he's like, good, just the one I want to. So, just kind of did up while he was talking to me, like, let me get it sent to you all last night. No, no. But I may go look at it. Surely there's. See if there's a better solution. Just gonna pay for them. He might be okay with that. Exactly. It concerns me. Yeah, that's what concerns me. Welcome, everyone. Before we begin our meeting tonight, we will have a prayer from Councilman Fitzwater, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag. States of America. To the republic that stands one
Welcome, everyone. I will now call to order the Monday, November 15th, 2021 City Council meeting. You can also join virtually. The link is at jeffersoncitymode.gov on our agenda, along with a call-in number. Mrs. Donaldson, roll call, please.
Fitzwater,
Present.
Hensley,
Present.
Kimna,
Here.
Lester,
Here.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Here.
Spicer,
Present.
Vogt, Ward. Here. Wiseman.
Present.
Item 4, miscellaneous agenda items. We always do a pandemic update, so I have a written report from, item 3. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So item 4 is our pandemic update. I have a written report from Health Department Director, County Health Department Director Christy Campbell. And she reminds us here to check out colehealth.org for the most recent COVID-19 case information. And she says we are seeing a small uptick in positive cases in Missouri at this time. Guidelines for COVID-19 vaccines for adults have not changed since the last city council meeting, but now kids age 5 to 11 are eligible for vaccine under the emergency use authorization. All the healthcare organizations are offering vaccines in the doctors and clinic offices daily. COVID-19 vaccines, including first, second, third, and booster doses, are available at the Cole County Health Department on Thursdays and at most retail pharmacies daily. There is ample vaccine supply in our county for those who would like to receive a vaccine. Local healthcare providers have requested that parents of children ages 5 to 11 call their primary care physician or pediatrician to schedule a vaccine appointment. Capital Region Medical Center, St. Mary's, JCMG, and Cole County Health Department, CHCCMO, the health, Crystal. I just drew a complete blank and we meet with them every other week. I'm sorry. Community Health Center, Community Health Center, thank you, sorry. Are all hoping to keep the administration of those doses separate from the administration of adult doses. In addition, the healthcare providers and healthcare teams in these environments are trained to help children through procedures and answer questions in a kid-friendly environment. Parents can also call local pharmacies to determine availability and vaccine schedule appointments for this age group. Walmart and Sam's Club pharmacies, for example, offer Pfizer for children ages 5 to 11. On recent LPHA calls, people have voiced concern of disrupting the school environment, especially when we have just come into the schools for influenza vaccine administration, ensuring consent from all involved parties, wanting parents to be present at the time of vaccine administration, etc. It is also encouraged to get your flu shot at this time. Flu shots are available daily at the Cole County Health Department, healthcare providers, and retail pharmacies. So that is the report from Christy Campbell at the Cole County Health Department. So any questions on that other than my not reading it as well as Christy would have. So my apologies for that. All right. So like she said, if you haven't received your COVID shot, there's how to do it. Don't forget your flu shot and check out colehealth.org for more information. Item 5, we have no public hearings. Item 6, appointments by the mayor. Mrs. Strope, please.
We have one appointment of Rick Mihalovich to the Heartland Port Authority. And then we have 3 appointments to the Environmental Quality Commission. Those are Aaron Mealy, Hannah Kiddo, and Catherine Hagley. And then 1 to the Housing Authority Board, and that's Rick Prather.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Strope or a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We always appreciate all of our board and commission volunteers. Item 7, presentations from staff consultants and invited guests. We are happy tonight to have with us this evening the Jefferson City Convention and Visitors Bureau, and she will make the CVB budget presentation. Welcome, Ms. Diane Gillespie, our Executive Director of the CVB. Welcome.
I'm in about as much trouble as I am today. Thank you for the invite. So as you know, this time of year is when I usually come and do our presentation of our budget for the 2022 year. The document that you have up there is the line items. Can we get the other document that has the comparison to our 21-22 budget? It should have been the other document that was forwarded to you. Here we go. Got it. That is it. So if you look at this document, I think it's a little easier for you to get a comparison of our 21-22. And I'm going to go over the revenue numbers first. I think those are probably the most important to all of us. The room tax, which is what we're funded off of, as you know, there's a 7% lodging tax. 4% of that goes into the Tourism Conference Fund, and 3% of it is what's funded the CVB. So out of that, we are expecting a 2% increase over 21 to 22 of $492,000. So as you all know, the hospitality industry was hit very hard during the pandemic, and we're still kind of in a recovery phase. It's getting better. The convention business is still kind of iffy. And, you know, you hear that there's going to be some new variants coming out. So we're kind of being conservative on our number, hoping that it is larger than that. But for right now, we're going with a 2% increase. Then if you go to line 4,300, it's the MDT co-op dollars. This is money that we have a co-op program through the Missouri Division of Tourism. And for this year, they are giving us the opportunity to go for $165,000, and they are going to pick up 75% of that. So it's only going to cost us 25%. So it's going to give us the opportunity to look at some advertising that we would never be able to do due to the budget. So we're going to do a Discovery Channel promotion, and some other things. So then we know if they work, then maybe we can incorporate them into our budget in the future moving forward. So that's why that number has increased. The other one would be prison tour ticket sales. So as you all know, we operate the tours at MSP, and we've been hit hard the last 2 years due to the tornado. So when we look at numbers, we look at 2018. And this year, we think we're going to end at about 25,000 people. We went into this year thinking 20,000, but our numbers have been better than we expected. So in 2018, we did 33,000, so not too far off. And keep in mind, March and April, we usually have a lot of school groups that we were not able to have this year. So we're thinking going forward, we're going to be okay. But again, we don't know. So again, we just figured a 2% increase. And then promotional items, we've got a 1.27% increase, 80,000. We think we'll be a little higher, but again, it's kind of hit and miss, and people come with no hoodies and need a hoodie because it's cold, then we can sell them some items. So it's kind of hit and miss. So right now our budget is a 12% increase at a 1.3 million. So any questions on those numbers? So I could go through the rest of this, but I think you guys can look at it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. On the very back, when you look under capital expenses, please note that we do have a transfer from revenue of $80,638. So we have put that in there just as a precautionary in case we have to pull some money from reserves. We had it in the 21 budget. We have not had to touch our reserves at this time. So we're thinking a little bit smarter, working a little bit smarter, and trying to keep our numbers, but yet keep the promotion going out there. And I hope you guys were able to see the Ghost Hunter show on October 31st on Discovery Plus. And we also have another film project in there this week. So it will come out in the spring, which we're excited about. Hope that that will generate some interest in tours and coming to Jefferson City. Any questions? The other document that I included that was on the screen in the beginning, that is a line item one that breaks down what we're spending the dollars for. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Councilman Spencer?
Yes, thank you for coming tonight.
Sure.
I have noticed that, which is a great number to see, but just kind of questioning, the insurance benefits is going down for 2022.
Yes. The insurance benefits going down. Do you want, Carol Burkhead is with Burkhead and Associates. She handles all of our accounting. So if you want to address that, or I can, either way. I kind of let her handle some of the benefits and the payroll.
Welcome, Carol. We're glad to have you here, and thank you for all you do with the CVB.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked that question. So in the past, we have done feasibility studies for salaries for the CVB staff and personnel. And so we've tried really hard to maintain those, a salary structure that was commensurate with other CVBs of our size, cities of our size, other not-for-profit companies. So this year, we did a little bit of a switch around on the salaries and the benefit structure. So we incorporated a little bit more into the salary structure and less into the benefits. So previously, the CVB was paying a good portion of the insurance, but the salaries were lower. So we took that difference in the health insurance benefit, added it into the salaries. So now the employee has a little bit more on the top end of it, but they're paying less of the insurance benefit. So now it's costing, or they're paying more of the insurance benefit. So it's costing less to the CVB. So that's where those numbers come in. So it looks like there's a larger salary increase, but than what there is, but it all was in the benefit package.
And the reserve fund balance percentage, what you generally try to keep in your
I'm sorry.
reserve fund balance or percentage? What do you generally try to keep in your reserve fund balance percentage?
You know, we actually have done very well with the fund balance. And I think at this point, we actually have almost up to a year of revenues and expenses in the fund balance. It has helped, of course, that we received some COVID dollars that we were able to put back into the budget, and then cut spending in areas where we didn't need to spend, you know, on just various items because of the pandemic. We didn't have personnel in the office. And so we were able to put more into fund balance than what we had anticipated. So we're doing actually better than what we were the previous years.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, could I tag on a question? I was looking at the retirement benefits. Percentage-wise seems fairly low. Maybe you answered this question last year, but is there a reason in the discussion you just gave as far as salary and benefits?
So the retirement, we do offer a simple IRA package to the employees. Not all of them participate. And particularly last year, we had several new staff members that were not eligible to participate. And so going forward into 2022, they are now eligible. So when we did the salary packages, we put that into the budget in case they would like to participate in that. The Convention and Visitors Bureau does a 3% match of whatever the employee puts in towards that retirement benefit. As well, a good portion of our employees are actually part-time through the MSP system, and so they don't actually qualify for the retirement. So the retirement package that you see is based solely on the salary employees.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sure. Councilman Spencer?
Gillespie. I just want to say, I think it was midsummer, late summer, you guys ran an ad for the hospitality industry here in Jefferson City. That was very well produced, and it was, you know, kind of a little bit emotional too, because it just kind of, you know, a lot of our businesses were hit hard,
Yeah.
as you said it earlier.
So
Hopefully
that,
we're on a rebound, but just
I
great
appreciate that.
produced.
We got some co-op dollars from Missouri Division of Tourism, and one of it was to help promote your local. And so Jay Pelzer with Tag Productions, give him a little shout out, helped us pull that together, and we were very pleased with it. Thank you.
Thank you all for all that you do to promote our capital city and keep that going. So thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it. And item B, we have Mr. Luke Holtschneider from Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership, which is JC Rep. And you were here last week as our last meeting, which we appreciate as well. And we look forward to your presentation tonight. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come back. 2 meetings in a row now. Full disclosure, this title slide was meant to be a deer picture, but this weekend did not turn out as anticipated. So you get just a boring title slide. So we will advance. Okay. So
2 weeks ago now, whenever I was able to visit with this council, gave more of a background on myself personally and just my coming into the organization. And that discussion led to, I wanted to provide an opportunity to set the vision and give a little more clarity to where JC Rep, Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership, where we're planning to go. So before we hit the ground and you're hearing or seeing things involving JC Rep, I want to get an awareness out there of really who we are, what we're doing, and understanding where's kind of our North Star. So to do that, I want to start with where the first 60 days has been. And so as you'll see, and I apologize, I didn't get these in your guys' board packet, but, or your council packet, but it's been about 60 days that I've been on board personally with JC Rep. So I started early September and spent most of that time since then really getting to familiarize myself with the community and community stakeholders. So understanding what's going on, what are some of the active projects, what's missing, what are some of those missing components in order to move some of these priorities forward. But, a lot of engagement. That was twofold. It was initially to really start to develop and build those relationships with stakeholder groups, but then ultimately it's also to understand what are assumptions, expectations of us as an organization. What's missing? What do people value? What do we need to be? What gathers that support and buy-in, and how do we complement our partners such as Diane and the CVB? So a lot of time spent one-on-one meetings, stakeholder engagements. Also, if you hear me in the future talk about just kind of the basic blocking and tackling, that's much of the getting the house in order. So these are the things that as a startup organization we have to do. So health insurance, retirement benefits, payroll provider, office location, branding, our logo, website, all these things that we're also doing to build an organization are also, high on a, priority list, but ultimately an activity list as well. So what I'm happy to share with council this evening is some of the results of the first 2 months. So what you're seeing here is just a word cloud based on the stakeholder feedback. So these 50+ conversations, as I come back and we don't have a sophisticated system yet, you'll see that that's something we need as a CRM type of tool. But, as I'm recording these conversations and kind of key takeaways, kind of see what boils to the top. Some of these are good. Some of these are what people feel is missing. This is what people value. This is what they want to see with JC Rep. So this really defines and helps build what should our strategy be? What should our mission really be? What's our vision? So a lot of what we heard from the stakeholders help build who the organization is pointed to be. There's going to be a lot of information. I'll kind of go through this chunk by chunk, and I'm trying to keep it pretty concise here, but could spend a couple hours just on this slide alone because this really encompasses our North Star. Where are we going as an organization? So what you'll see is a lot of reflection based on that previous word cloud, which I can't go back to, but we'll stick on this slide. And so if you look at it, to really build our mission and begin to understand, who are we as an organization and why do we exist? We really have to understand why we exist in order to determine what we do. And so really why we exist, if you boil it down, is to help facilitate economic opportunities for the Jefferson City region. We're going to do a lot of things. Sometimes you're going to see jobs. Sometimes you're going to see, the business expansions and attractions. But then you're going to see a lot of things on infrastructure and community development that are extremely important to that same mission. So our activities, our objectives may change, but our mission stays true. If I can bring your attention to the very bottom of the screen in the italics there, that really represents our vision. So as an organization, again, with a mission and a vision, our vision is who do we want to be? As an organization, not necessarily our mission, but who do we want to be is really the go-to for advancing these priority initiatives for the Jefferson City region. Because again, that vision helps us deliver our mission, and we can also identify what are our core objectives based off of that. So understand this may be boring to anybody that's not a strategy enthusiast, which I tend to be, but really understanding who we are and why we're here is going to help inform everything we do afterwards. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that just for the group's awareness, but also
additional feedback and engagements moving forward, because none of these are set in stone, but these are really kind of based on that feedback, based on those conversations, and ultimately based on our experience as economic developers. This really begins to point us into the direction that makes us one of the best economic development entities in the state. So if we mission very high level and we start to look objectively, what are we going to focus on? What are our areas of focus? I don't think that's going to surprise anybody that one is our organizational excellence. So it's really becoming a premier organization. The second, infrastructure development. As we all know, that economic opportunity is going to be based off of really a combination of all of these efforts, but we're going to have a lot of focus on infrastructure. We're going to have a focus on community development as well, business development, which would be kind of traditionally where you would place the economic development entity from a community level. But we're going to be doing much more, and I do want to represent that, because these additional really objectives and strategies that we're ensuing are all meant to achieve that core economic development outcome or goal, which is those economic opportunities. So I've defined, just kind of from an action standpoint, what these areas of focus mean. So it's more than just, infrastructure. We're looking to ensure that there's accessibility to the critical infrastructure in the Jefferson City region. We're pursuing development projects that strive to create a stronger community. We're facilitating growth opportunities from new and existing employers. So these are going to be action-oriented objectives, but these are how we plan to measure ourselves. We have a mission. Sometimes it's very hard to measure, but that's really the direction you're going. Objectives are more of a measurement tool, and then the strategies and tactics within. So what you've seen bulleted below each of these areas of focus or objectives are more of the strategic efforts that we plan to focus on over the next, year plus. I don't think it's going to come at any surprise from an organization perspective, that basic blocking and tackling, but in order for us to do the best job, we need to be a very solid organization. So we can't bypass our own organization and just start trying to do economic development work. We have to be a very sound entity as well. Infrastructure development, some of the core strategy areas are going to be in broadband, the Heartland Port Authority, and the Jefferson City Levee Project. And I've got an additional slide after this with a little more detail. On community development, I feel like that's an area where we're probably going to support more so than lead on these other areas of focus. There's stronger entities at the front, CVB, chamber, city, county at various times that are kind of running point on some of these other strategies within community development that we're going to be there to support, such as MSP, different sports tourism opportunities in the Jefferson City area, partnerships and efforts with Lincoln University, and the big unknown of workforce development, how to approach that and how to tackle that. Doesn't mean that these are any less important, but I feel that we have a stronger ability to complement than we do lead some of these efforts. On business development, there's many things that go under business retention and expansion, but that's going to be really core to who we are in areas in which we're focused on some of those end results. But again, a stronger local infrastructure and community supports stronger business development projects. So we're going to have some of the tactical areas in which we'll be focused on each of those different strategies. Again, a lot of text up here, a lot of information that can share, but this begins to articulate what that means in the next 60 days. So we had those strategies. We had, different strategies within infrastructure, community development, business development, but tactically speaking, what do we plan to focus on within those strategies over the next 60 days? The plan will be to build longer and more detailed plans for additional share and engagement with groups like this, but want to start to shape and communicate the direction we're going in some of those more specific tasks that we're planning to undertake in the next 60 days related to a lot of these priority efforts and many identified through conversations with council members and mayor and company as well. So I've tried to keep this at about 5 minutes. I know I've exceeded that, but I'm happy to go through these, but I believe everybody has a copy of them. But I can go through these in a little more detail if you'd like on the tactical sheet here as well. Did I just throw a lot of information out there? I know I did, but you know, the intent behind this is to begin to show a vision, to show a direction. You know, there's misnomer at times about what economic development is or what it isn't. And this is meant to reflect, based on engagements with community leaders and key stakeholders, where we may have a role to play in partnering. It's not just us. It's always a team sport in economic development, but where we plan to really spend our time and energy in certain things that we're going to be taking the lead on and certain things we're going to be supporting. But I want you to know that what we're about, and that it's more than just expansions and business attractions. While those are core key outcomes, there's many more things that we can be doing to help contribute to that success. And so this is meant to begin to lay some of that framework.
Thank you, Mr. Holtschneider, and I'll
Yep.
see if council has any questions, and we do appreciate your approach to economic development and working very closely with the city and city council on that, along with the other entities that you mentioned, and bringing us success with economic growth and development. So we're glad to have you on board. You're energetic and experienced. Your experience and background are really going to help with this position, so thank you. Does council have any questions or comments? Councilman Fitzwater?
Well, again, thanks for being here. And I just wanted to point out I think the last one you talked about is, as I talked to members of the community, the business retention, especially now, seems to be a huge focus. Expansion, a lot of people are going after expansion, but working with our current local businesses and trying to make sure they're solid. So I appreciate seeing that as a key piece of the program.
From a business development angle, you know, focusing on what we have and ensuring their success and how we can retain and assist them to grow is really where the results are going to show on the business development side. And, you know, that success is also going to hinge on, you know, do we have the infrastructure in place for them to grow? Do we have the workforce in place? Do we have a strong community that they can continue to grow within? So rather than, you know, hope that those other things come together, we're really going to focus on how do we ensure that we continue to advance a stronger community in order for those in order for those economic opportunities to be realized.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Appreciate you being here and look forward to continuing to work together.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 8, announcements by mayor, council, and staff. We'll see if any of our 4 standing committees have anything. Is there anything for administration?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Our regularly scheduled meeting is December 1st, but we have moved that to December 2nd at 7:30 a.m. So that is our next scheduled meeting.
Okay, thank you. Finance?
Yeah, because of some scheduling.
Okay. And is there one scheduled or just not Thursday?
Not at this point.
Okay, sounds good. And public safety? And then public works and planning.
On December the 9th, 7:30.
Okay. And any other council announcements this evening? And I will throw out a few. If you get your calendar out, it's hard to believe this is our last meeting before the Christmas parade. It's kind of odd to be talking about Christmas here. So I will give a few dates out starting Wednesday, December 1st through Saturday, December 4th. There's a lot going on. So starting Wednesday, December 1st is the Polar Plunge for Special Olympics, the Power Hour Plunge, and that will be located on Madison Street like we have done in the past. And Sheriff Wheeler and I have a rivalry, city and county, to see who can raise the most money, although it all goes to Special Olympics. But since he is not here tonight, I will say please contribute to the mayor's team. And if anybody wants to participate, I know in the past, Councilman Mahalovich used to run through the freezing cold sprinklers. So I'm throwing that out there. If anybody wants to do that, we try to raise $500 for this wonderful opportunity to do this. So Sheriff Wheeler will have the hazmat sprinklers ready, and you have to run through at least once. But once you go through once, you may as well go 2 or 3 times. Chief Schofield has also done this before multiple times. And will you be doing that again?
I'm ready to pass the baton. If anybody else would like to.
Let's see if we have any takers there. So, and look, Lieutenant Williams happens to be here tonight too. So that's perfect timing for both of you.
The answer is no.
We'll see about that. So if anybody wants to contribute to any of these causes, I can see both of you back there thinking, you know, if we can raise that money, I'm sure you would do it again. So that is Wednesday, December 1st. Thursday, December 2nd is the mayor's Christmas tree lighting, and Parks and Rec always does a fabulous job with the mayor's tree. Of course, that's located in Rotary Centennial Park at Bolivar Street. So I know Mr. Spalding is here from Parks and Rec, and it's my understanding they are working diligently on getting that all prepared. So, and that's always a great event that night. Anything to add at the moment on that?
Staff is excited to do this.
Wonderful. Well, they always do a fantastic job, and I love the excitement that they put into this. The community loves it, and all throughout the season, it's great to see people that come and take their pictures there day and night of the beautiful tree there. So, and then Friday, December 3rd is the governor's tree lighting along with Living Windows. That's from 6 to 9 p.m. on December 3rd. And then Saturday, December 4th is the annual Christmas parade, the JC's parade downtown. So a lot going on. It's hard to believe that's quickly approaching. Also wanted to announce we did have some Veterans Day events going on in the community last week, and appreciate all of our veterans and all who have served our great country. Any other announcements? And then I'll turn it over to Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city is in the process of putting together a competitive grant application for state community development block grant funds to respond to and prepare for the pandemic situation that's going on. We've been getting the word out to nonprofit organizations that part of the grant application will include approximately $900,000 of funds, may up to $900,000 of funds as part of this grant to provide public services, community facilities, and programs that planning projects that help prepare us for the pandemic and respond to the pandemic. I'd like to let those nonprofits know that we're having a workshop this Thursday between 4:30 and 6 across the hall. The deadline for the applications is December 5th, and the workshop will be recorded. It's not virtual, but we will be recording it and making it available on our website. Any nonprofit that wants to know more can go to the city website. Down at the bottom, there'll be a box that talks about this grant program, or they can call City Hall and ask for someone in the planning department at 634-6360. Can't even get my phone number right. 634-6410. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Sanders? All right, thank you. Yes, Councilman Fitzwater.
Yeah, I just had a question on the first page of the document of where eligible use sentence that talks about city reserves the right to accept or reject. What would be the process of someone that went through the trouble and presented and they were rejected or accepted?
Sonny, is your mic on?
Sorry, do I have to do all that again? I'm not sure if there's an appeal process, if that's the question, if someone is not. The process for selection would be a combination of city staff, perhaps a council person, and someone that's out there in the industry that is not applying for this grant opportunity. We do anticipate we'll get several grants, but it is a lot of work to put these things together too. So not sure if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, I just know that programs like this tend to generate a lot of interest. I agree with you. Some may not qualify that think they qualify, so there needs to be some process. I was just curious.
The workshop is intended to help those folks that may be in the process of wanting to apply to get more information and understand what the process is that we're going through. So the workshop is highly recommended, or to look at the recordings to know more. But
Okay, well, I appreciate you doing it. I appreciate the 3 projects identified above also. So.
and I said up to 900,000. We may not get awarded the whole $2 million we're asking for. It may be part of that. I'm pretty sure we're going to get something in this just because the limited number of communities that are eligible to apply for the dollar amount. So the cap is $2 million, but we'll get all that, but I'm sure we'll get something.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, item 10, presentations from the gallery. We have nobody signed up, and I believe there's nobody online to speak this evening. Item 11, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, bills introduced 2021-68.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri calling a special election on a revenue bond question in the City of Jefferson, Missouri.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. As clerk indicated, calling this election would be for the purpose of finding community support for wastewater bonding, borrowing of funds for the wastewater system. Basically, council approved a rate table a few months back that would support this effort. Is to have enough funds to borrow about $44 million to upkeep the system. Favorable time to do that. Recently notified that Missouri DNR was in their intended use plan that means our project would be eligible for their loan. So this is kind of that first step in setting that election.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, 2021-69.
An ordinance amending Chapter 29 Sewers and Sewage Disposal of the Code of the City of Jefferson, Missouri by changing definitions, adjusting specific pollutant limitations.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. Again, related to wastewater, but just updating our code. Our wastewater code reflects some state and federal regulations. Kind of the highlights are some dental offices. They probably already know they have to do this from the federal level, but this would update our code condition, and then time form, the dental offices would need to fill out their issues there related to wastewater. It also changes an iron limit. It actually increases the limit that someone could discharge into the system. It was set somewhat, we feel, arbitrarily low, so we've increased that to be more in line with federal standards. And then record keeping was also decreased the time folks would have to keep about various wastewater activity.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, 2021-70.
Ordinance amending Chapter 29 Sewers and Sewage Disposal of the Code of the City of Jefferson, Missouri sewer surcharges.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. Okay, this is another rate table in the sewer code, but it relates to surcharges, which means if an industry, permitted industry in the city had waste coming into our system that has exceeded certain amounts in their permit, they'd have to pay a surcharge to the city for that disposal effort. Again, this is just, our table hasn't been modified since 1987, so we got a 6-year plan here put together, and we anticipate these changes. There's 5 permittees in the city right now, but it generated about 1,700 wastewater system. And these relate to biological oxygen demand, BOD, and suspended solids, usually just TSS.
Thank you. Any questions? Right, 2021-71.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri amending Chapter 1 of the City Code relating to preemption by or charges in federal or state law and enforcement provisions.
Mr. Molman?
Thank you. This ordinance or this bill would add 2 sections to the city code that generally relate to how the city code is read in enforcement actions. The first is a change, adding a provision called self-preemption. And really what that does, When there are changes to state or federal law that are inconsistent with our code, this code informs that our city code is to be read in a manner that is consistent with the changes in state and federal law. And so what this does, it protects the city from, claims that we're violating some sort of state or federal law because we hadn't had the opportunity to change our code yet. And really what it does in a practical effect, it protects the city from really any type of claim of facial invalidity. Essentially, it tells the courts we want the ability to come in and defend ourselves and show that our code, even though it may look like it is written in a way that's consistent or inconsistent with changes law, should actually interpret it in a way that is consistent. So it's a protective measure for the city. The second part relates to attorney's fees and enforcement action. So sometimes in order to enforce our city code, we occasionally will have to employ the services of attorneys. And generally in law, there's something called the American rule. And the American rule states is that each party must bear their own attorney's fees in an action unless otherwise provided by contract or law. There has been a slight change in case law that has suggested that ordinances that are duly enacted by city councils can provide a basis in law for an award of attorney's fees. And so this section takes advantage of that case law and says essentially if the city has to use the services of attorneys in the enforcement law, that we can ask a court to award our attorney's fees as well. There have been few situations in recent memory where this could have been helpful, where we've expended lots of times and resources, particularly attorney time and resources. And this could have helped in either bringing situations to resolution quicker or the city recover some of the resources that were expended on those issues. And so, it's one of those things probably wouldn't use a whole lot, but in those tough situations where we have to go out and get attorneys, that would be helpful to make sure that the public are not being expended needlessly to pursue enforcement actions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Molman? Okay. Item 13, bills pending 2021-64.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, establishing election dates in the City of Jefferson, Missouri, 2022 general municipal election.
Mr. Molman?
Thank you. This bill would establish the election dates and candidate filing periods for the 2022 municipal elections, which will happen in April of 2022. Just to note, the filing times have moved up due to changes in state law. So the filing times are about earlier typically are. So we're expecting the candidate filing to start here pretty soon.
Thank you. Any questions, Councilman Spencer?
It's just a question as far as districting map. So with the change in Ward 3, for example, those folks that are now in Ward 3, they would not technically be eligible to run, would they? Because they would have to have 6 months.
That's a good question. I don't think that is going to be applied in that manner, but that's a good question. I want to do a little bit more research before I
According
get
to
you.
charter, I mean,
According to the charter, but I'm drawing a blank on the case and the title of the doctrine, but essentially it would say that those types of changes wouldn't impugn someone's eligibility. That's essentially what they say. Have you been in the place that you have lived for 6 months? And court, it wouldn't recognize that ward change as being a disqualification. Let me do a little bit more research. I can get you a clearer answer on that. But I don't think it would be a problem.
okay.
Any other questions or deliberation or discussion? Roll call, please.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber,
Aye.
Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Ward, Wiseman.
Aye.
Bill passes 2021-63 or 66, sorry. Okay, I've been trying not to put these on. 65.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending fiscal year 2022 budget of the City of Jefferson, Missouri by appropriating additional funds within the Capital Improvement Sales Tax H 22-27 Fund.
Ms. Miller?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This bill amends the 22 budget by recognizing the revenues and expenditures for our new capital improvement sales tax H. The sales tax H is estimated to generate 5.6 million a year. So this is for a half-year appropriation of $2.8 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Schreiber. Spencer.
Aye.
Spicer.
Aye.
Vogt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2021-66.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, accepting and approving the final subdivision plat of a replat of Lot 11 and Lot 1-A of Capitol Mall Subdivision, a subdivision of the City of Jefferson, Missouri.
Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the clerk indicated, this is a final subdivision plat of the Capitol Mall area. And what you see here in the dark bolded area is actually that subdivision, not including the Sears component of the mall there. Of course, it's off of Highway 50 and Truman Boulevard. The subdivision plat basically focuses on Outlot 11, and it subdivides it into three smaller lots, Lot 11A, which has the new Starbucks going on it, 11B that has the new Pizza Hut, and then Lot 11C, which is currently undeveloped. Also with this, creating these three lots creates an issue where the property owner is going to also request a variance with the subdivision plat to allow Lot 11C not to be required to have any street frontage. It does have frontage along Truman Place, that little access road between the Hy-Vee gas station and properties here. There is an agreement with all the property owners regarding access, vehicular, parking movements, utilities and things like that. So there's really not a need to have that street frontage and access to the property, as it already really has it through a series of agreements and easements. Also with this final subdivision plat, they're increasing, giving the Lot 11A on the south and 11C on the south and the east, making the lots a little bit bigger, just to help facilitate some of the site design. This has gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission with the recommendation for approval. There really is not any fiscal impact other than $256 worth of fees collected as the processing fee. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Schreiber. Spencer.
Aye.
Spicer.
Aye.
Vogt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2021-67.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, establishing Patriot Drive and Lyon Way as names designated for private streets near Lawson Elementary School and Thomas Jefferson Middle School.
Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This property here has Lawson School at the north and then also Thomas Jefferson School at the south. And the property owner has actually already constructed a private drive coming between here, looping up over here to Edgewood from Fairgrounds. The property owner wishes to provide those private drives street names, which would help facilitate people turning into them. They put street signage up at no cost to the city. They would be private drives, and they would be able to address 911 addresses off of them if needed to be in the future. This has also come through the Planning and Zoning Commission with a recommendation for approval. There really isn't any fiscal impact, as the school district will be paying for and installing the signs themselves. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Sorry. Councilman Spencer?
As far as like snow removal, is there a plan on how they're going to do that?
I'm assuming they would do that the way they manage all of their properties with their own equipment. I'm not aware of any agreement where the city plows the school district property.
But I mean, as far as how they're removing the snow, how that's going to be, is it like on Edgewood there?
It is against the law to pile your snow in the city right away. I do know that, having dealt with sidewalks and snow. So they're not supposed to be putting their piles of snow on the city property. That helps answer the question. I do not know of any snow removal plan that they had.
I'm sure they're
submitted.
probably aware of that. being that that's,
They're pretty good, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 14, nothing on the informal. Item 15, resolutions 2021-16.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing application for a survey project through the Historic Preservation Fund.
Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We wish to apply for a Historic Preservation Fund grant. I believe it's a 60/40 grant, so there would be a match on this particular grant of about $9,200. The awards would be made actually in August, and we normally don't get around to expending funds on these until the following fiscal year, which would be 2023. We would anticipate trying to budget the match through the normal budget process, probably pink sheet the match. So we do not need to worry about that today. This is to continue the surveying we've been doing up on the West Main area. We have one survey undergoing right now. We've had one in the past, and this would be the third one to try to have a more cohesive area that has gone through the historical survey process. Be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Schreiber, Spencer.
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Resolution passes. 2021-17.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing application for design guidelines project through the Historic Preservation Fund grant.
Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a similar grant. It's a 60/40 grant. We anticipate the whole project probably costing about $50,000. This would help the city and the Historic Preservation Commission develop a set of design guidelines which are used. So if someone with historic property either wants to rebuild it there, or perhaps an addition or remodeling or whatever the case is, the city would have some design guidelines, or at least identify what sort of components need what sort of process. Later on, there would be design standards that would probably be specific, some of them specific to certain historic areas, but there may be some that would be throughout the whole city, but it would just help us get those in place. Once again, this is also something we don't anticipate actually going out to proposals for consultants until fiscal year 2023, and we will, during the budget process, ask for funding to match this grant awarded. We are awarded. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber.
Resolution passes. Item 16, presentations from the gallery on other topics. We have nobody signed up this evening. Item 17, any council and staff discussion of presentation topics? Item 18, any new business? Councilman Spencer?
Couple items, please. For Mr. Spalding, could we, I think this might be the second or third time asking to see if we can maybe get a presentation of the Riverside project and how that's moving along. See. Yeah, yeah. Driven by there, it looks like they're moving along really well, and
Yeah.
it's great.
Sure.
Thank you. One other thing for Chief Schofield, firefighter injury, how's our firefighter doing?
Yeah, he's at home. He was released from urgent care yesterday evening, has been home, recovering, resting at home. Has some follow-up consultations tomorrow morning to see what the next steps are. But appreciate all the concern. I know a lot of folks have reached out, and I've tried to convey those to him while he's.
Thank you. Any other new business? Item 19, approval of November 1st, 2021 closed session minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Ward. Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Schreiber. Spencer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 20, any unfinished business, and number 21.
I move to adjourn.
Right, all in favor, say aye. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you.